Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And one of the cool things about the world of Sudoku at the moment is that so many puzzles have a story behind them. And the one on the screen is a great example. So a couple of evenings ago on our Discord server, the great constructor Clover suggested the idea of running a speed setting competition. And this took place. So Tiganis, Clover and Sam Kapperman Lines took part. They each were given an hour to set a Sudoku, basically a brand new puzzle, using constraints of Jovial's choosing. So, you know, already we've got sort of 4 of the world's best constructors involved in this, with the resulting puzzles to be judged by Totally Normal Cat. Totally Normal Cat, of course, who came up with the incredible puzzle that I solved on the channel yesterday. One of the greatest Sudokus I've ever seen. Ridiculously good and ridiculously hard. Anyway, so what happened, you may wonder? Well, the constraint that Jovial chose was the one, as you can see, it's Killer Sudoku with thermos. And I think Sam took 57 minutes to come up with his puzzle. And Clover took 57 minutes as well. Tiganis took 59 minutes. And basically, Totally Normal Cat disappeared off to solve the puzzle and came back to declare Tiganis the winner. And that is the puzzle you see on the screen. It's Tiganis's entry. And Totally Normal Cat's comment was that it is totally unbelievable that someone had set such a lovely and intricate puzzle in only an hour. Sam has since solved this himself, and basically he emailed me to say he absolutely agrees and we should certainly solve this on the channel, and that's what I'm going to attempt to do for you today. The other thing Sam suggested is it might be nice to put his puzzle and Clover's puzzle out for bonus Patreon content. So that is exactly what I'm going to do after I've recorded this video, assuming I can do it, is I will put Clover's and Sam's puzzle over on Patreon. So if you're a patron of the channel, go over there and you'll find those puzzles to play. Now, a couple of things to mention before we get into this. Firstly, of course, yesterday we released this incredible new puzzle hunt by Matthias Martinka, again on Patreon, and with merch available for the first entries. Well, let me tell you, we have had several correct entries already. The quickest was Benjamin Huang in 4 hours 43 minutes. That is some solving. Second, Dvorak 42, 5 hours 12 minutes. J.H. Harsh, that was next. Biker Jack, Chris Hunt, Cheel Bean Hacker, Shogia, Pulverizing Pancake, Nathan Gilbert, Leon Zhang, Steve McClellan, Nyala, Shui Wu, Ben Needham, Dance1211, and Joseph Costal have all, at the time I'm recording this video, which is sort of early afternoon UK time, have all correctly solved the hunt, and that is well done, all of you, fantastic. And now it was so close between Benjamin and Dvorak that we're going to give them both a bit of merch, so we will be in contact with you to find out what you want. Other than that, what else? Oh yeah, Demono, of course, had agreed to create a setting video for his puzzle Taco Bowl 3. I've now received it. It's ready to go. It's uploaded. We're going to release that on the channel tomorrow morning. So that's terrific. And if you're an aspiring setter, you will get all sorts of info on how these great constructors set their puzzles. Yeah, tomorrow morning. So now let's get to this one. What are the rules? Well, normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small total given in the top left corner of the cage. Digits may not repeat within a cage. And along thermometers, digits must increase from the bulb end. And that's all. So, do have a go. As I say, this was a competition between 3 of the greatest setters on Earth. And this puzzle won. So we ought to be in for an absolute treat. The way you can play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now, I get to play. Let's get cracking. And in fact, the first thing that strikes me as I stare at this puzzle is that it's really elegant, isn't it? Because all of the killer cages are actually symmetrically placed. In fact, the thermometers are also, if you ignore the bulbs, the thermometers also have symmetrical shapes. So that's rather gorgeous. And Tiganis is being generous because I can put 1, 2 and 3 into the 6 cage. That's the only way I can do that, and 7, 8 and 9 into the 24 cage. So we've even got pencil marks. Now, what else? Now, if I was Mark now, I would pencil mark all these thermometers with every single one of their options. But thank goodness I'm not. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, okay. So we can use the secret to tell us something about this 36 gauge. Because if you add up all of the digits from 1 to 9 once each, you get 45. So in a 9-cell killer Sudoku cage, because none of the digits can repeat within a cage, you would be adding up all of the digits from 1 to 9 and you would get a 45 total. Now this is a 7-cell cage summing to just 36, so we know that there are 2 digits missing from this cage, and those digits must add up to 45 minus 36, which is 9. So what we learn from that is that there is definitely a 9 in this cage. Now, hang on, just let me see if that means anything immediately. I'm not sure it does. Okay. No. Oh, right, so that's not where we start, perhaps. I know I'm gonna find myself having to pencil mark all these thermometers, aren't I? I'm gonna be forced to eat humble pie. I'm not eating humble pie yet. I'm going to keep looking for a moment. Right, those squares add up to 19, so the other squares add up to 26. That is as useless as a chocolate teapot. We've got 30 there, so these 4 add up to 15 to get us to 45. It's also not really telling me anything. 5 gauge here, maybe opposite the 6. Ah, no, 5 gauge on a third. Here's a start. Right. 5 on a thermo. So what on earth can we put into these 2 cells? The answer is not much, because what we can't do is use 1 and 4. Because if we do, the implication of that would be we could put 0 in the bulb, which we definitely can't do. So this is a 2-3 pair, and obviously it's on a thermo, so we have to increase from the bulb end. So it must go 1, 2, 3. And we have digits now. We've got 6 there, plus 21 is 27, so these 3 squares add up to 18. We've got, no, can I use this somehow? No, I don't think so. It's a bit annoying that this cell sticks out of box 3, otherwise I might be able to at least get some pencil marks there, but I don't think I can. Right, let's have a look at this box. Because one thing I do know about thermometers is that if you're going to try and put the key digits I tend to look at on thermometers are 1s and 9s, to be honest. Now I definitely can't put a 1 anywhere but in the bulb end of a thermometer, so these 6 cells can't be 1s, so there is definitely a 1 in the top row in box 2, which doesn't actually look very helpful at all. Though maybe it's a bit interesting in column 3. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a little bit interesting. Where does the 1 go in column 3? It can't go here because there's a 1 in one of those squares. It can't go in a 7, 8, 9, 24 gauge. It can't go partially along thermometers. So it's definitely in one of 2 places. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, no, it's not. There's an 8 gauge. Right, okay, we've got another digit. This square's got to be a 1, because that one can't be a 1. Now, I don't know what to look at here. I'm tempted to look at this box, but my eyes have just caught the fact that this bulb can't be a 1 anymore. So I'm just going to have a quick look here. So that's got to be a minimum of 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is a minimum of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh no, that can't be a 3. Oh, okay, so this nudging up from its minimum value actually doesn't affect this thermometer as much as the fact that this 1, 2, 3 looking at this square. So that's a minimum of 4, that's a minimum of 5, that's a minimum of 6, and that is now a minimum of 7. So there's sort of 3 degrees or 3 options for each of those cells. Which, yes, all right, I'll put them in. There we go. Don't think it's doing anything, but I might be wrong. We could... Don't know. Don't feel actually like these thermometers are... It feels to me like they're just too short to be powerful. Don't know. Okay, I'm going to come back. Let's have a look in this box because I've got this 8 cage here. Now, depending on whether this 8 cage is 125 or 134, if it's 125, I'm going to force a 2 into 1. In fact, I'm going to force a 2 into exactly that square because I can't put 2 in a 13 cage without putting an 11 here, which is clearly nonsense. And I can't put 2 there without going 1, 0, which is clearly also nonsense. Now, if this is 134 on the other hand, you'd have a 3 exactly there. So you've either got a 2 here or you've got a 3 here. Now, is that important? The 13 cage. This square has obviously got to be the lower of the 3 options. So to make 13 in 2 digits, you're either using 4, 9, 5, 8 or 6, 7. So, and this square is on the thermometer. So that's 4, 5 or 6. That's 7, 8 or 9. Now this square can't be 1 or 3. So that's 2, 4 or 5. Can't be 6 because I can't make this 7. 3. 3 can't go here. So 3 is definitely in the bottom part of this. Is 3 in the 16 cage or not? Don't think it has to be. I think it can hide in the corner. Bobbins. Right, okay, so I'm not getting anywhere here really. 1 is now in the 36 cage, so there must be an 8 in it. So we now know there's 8 and 9 in the 36 cage. It's reason if there was a 2 in the 36 cage, it would have to go in this domino. Don't really see how that matters, to be honest. This is very difficult. I don't know how long Totally Normal Cat took to solve it. I do know that Sam rates him as an incredibly good solver, as well as a genius setter. So I hope I'm not embarrassing myself here. Hang on a minute, let me think. 7, 8, 9. Okay, I should have thought harder about the 7, 8, 9. Let's have a think about where these 3 digits appear in box 7. Because they obviously can't go there or in these 2 squares, which we've already pencil marked. So these 3 high digits have to occupy 3 of this 2 by 2 region. Now, what we can't do though is put 2 of them in the 16 cage. Because even if I pick the lowest 2, if I put 7 and 8 in those 2 squares, that square would have to be a 1 in order to make the cage add up, and it can't be. So you can only put 1 of 7, 8 and 9 in the 16 cage, therefore, if we can only put 1 in this domino, we must put 2 in this domino, and that's a 7, 8 or 9. And that gets me a little bit more real estate on the 3, or a little bit more knowledge about the 3. The 3 is now appearing in the 16 cage, along with a 7, 8 or a 9, and a 4, 5 or a 6. Which means, it definitely means something. What does it mean? Well, I tell you one thing it means. It means 2. Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous. Right. we can't put 2 in the 16 cage with the 3, because then we'd have to put 11 in as well. So I was about to say the 2 goes in this domino, but of course this can't be a 2 because of the little thermo. So this sort of funny looking spider shaped thermo has a 2 in the bulb. Which means what? So now that square's got to be at least 4. So this square's got to be at least 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So this square can't be. This square now has to be 4, 5, or 6. So that square has to be 3, 4, or 5. Oh dear, no, this is not. I don't feel like I'm really getting to grips with this at all, I have to say. I suppose that does mean there's 2 in the 8 cage though now. 1, 2, 5 here. It still doesn't tell me anything about anything. Or maybe this 1, 2, 5 affects the 36 cage now. Does it or not? Is there some way I can use this being 1, 2, 5? Oh, what I can do is I can note that there's definitely a 3 in the 36 cage now. So there's no 3 here. Which... this square can't be a 3, because if that was a 3, this would have to be a 1 or a 2. So we're now down to a 3 in one of those squares, which is going to put a restriction on 3 in column 5, isn't it? So we can't repeat 3 in a cage, so none of those 4 squares are 3. You can't put a 3... hang on. You can't put a 3 in either of these 2 squares, because then you'd reach 0 in the bulb. So 3 is in one of those 3 squares, in box 2. Which might be important. So if the 3 was there, 4, 5, 6, this would be at least 7. This is tricky. Okay, let's have a look at the 36 cage again. We've got a 1 in it, we've got a 3 in it, so it's either missing 2, 7 or 4, 5. They're the only 2 ways of adding up to 9 that in 2 cells that cannot be in this cage. So 2 is very difficult to place, look. So the only place 2 could be in this cage now is here. And that would mean 4 and 5 had to be out of this, which would mean 4 was in one of those 2 squares, which would make that a 5, 6 pair. Hang on a moment. What is it we're convinced? Now, if on the other hand, there is definitely, if there was a 4, 5 in here and there wasn't a 2, 7, the 5 would become a bit tricky. You'd have to put the 5 in one of those 2 squares, which does things like eliminate 5 from that square, which is not, I think, useful. Because if there was a 5 in one of those 2, whichever one it was in would see this square, but I don't think that's particularly powerful. Oh no, this is where we're going, isn't it? I'm going to have to look at these thermometers in more detail. 2, 3, this is at least a 4, that's at least a 5. Yeah, so maybe we can do something with low digits in this box, because I can't put more than 1, 2, 3. one of those two has to be a low digit. By a low digit, I mean a 4 or less, because... Oh, no, hang on, I'm being silly here. I'm being silly here. 1, 2. Yes, oh, this is nice. Right, okay. So, I said before one of those two digits has to be low. So what I'm thinking about is that if you look at a 9 cage and an 8 cage, broadly they can be divided into, you know, a high digit and a low digit. One of the digits in this 9 cage must be a 1, 2, 3 or a 4. One of the digits in the 8 cage must be a 1, 2 or a 3. So there is exactly one low digit in those two dominoes. Now, this could be a low digit. Oh, I hadn't thought actually about whether both of those... I think it's the same point that I've spotted before. Right, what I'm thinking is that if this square is a low digit, if this is a 4, which is the least it can be, the point there is that this thermometer becomes 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this square cannot be low. So it's not possible for both of these digits to be low. Either this is low, i.e. it's a 4, because it can't be lower than 4, in which case this is not low, or if this is not low, this could be low. But you can't have more than one low digit from these two squares. You can't have more than one low digit there. You can't have more than one low digit there. So that square is a low digit. That's a 3 or a 4. And because it can't be a 2, obviously. You'd have to put, you'd struggle with the bulb. Now, I'm wondering whether... Can I determine which of these is the low digit? If this is a low digit, it can't be 1 or 3, so it would only be possible for it to be 2 or 4. Don't know. I feel like I must be able to eliminate one of those possibilities. Obviously I can eliminate, if this is 4, this definitely can't be 2 or 4. But it could be a high. I'm going around in circles. Right, let's think about this square. We've now proved this is low. Now before we spotted this low point in this box, we didn't know this had to be low. So we've now got, yeah, here we go, we've got more digit. We've got a digit here. This has got to be a 1 because it can't be a 2. Oh, this is nice. This is nice now. Where does 1 go in box 1 of the grid? It can't go in this square because there's a 1 in one of those 3 squares. So we've now got a 1, 6 pair in the 7 cage, which means that's not 6, that's not 7. And 6 in box 4 has to be in one of those 2 cells, I think. So 6 in box 7 has to be in one of these 2 cells. Can you put a 6 with a 3? Yes, you can. You could go 3, 6, and 7 into this box. That's a bit frustrating. 2 now in box 1 has to be in one of 2 places. So, oh, right. Oh my goodness me. Right, let's just pause here because I think we've just cracked open a massive chunk of this puzzle. But let's just... Tirganus in an hour has come up already with some pretty extraordinary stuff. I don't think I've probably done this the right way, to be honest. But I managed to limit this to being a 3-4, which gave me a 1 here, which because of the cages in box 1 allowed this to be a 1-6. And then that limits 2 in box 1 to these 2 squares. And this 2, where do you put it in box 2 now? It definitely can't be on this thermometer because it's definitely higher than 3 or 4. So it can't be there. Clearly it can't be there. So it's on the thermo. Well, can you put it as a 3rd cell on a thermo? Nope. So it must go in that position on the thermo, and that means that must be a 1 and this must be a 3 using our pencil marks. That means this does have the opportunity still to be a 4. Right, let's tidy up some pencil marks and see what this is telling us. So 2 now is not there, 3 is not here. What does that mean? That means this square's a 5, just by our old friend Sudoku. This 5 means that's not a 5. Does that mean anything? It also means that's not a 5. Maybe that's the question. Where does 5 now go? Not sure actually. So this square, which must be at least 6 now, is 6, 7, 8 or 9. No, that doesn't feel useful, does it? I see. Good grief. Right. Now this square is a 5 because we can use the 36 cage now more, because once you get a 2 here, it impacts what you can put in the 36 cage. You can no longer put a 2 in it. And if you can no longer put a 2 in it, there's no 2 or 7 in the 36 cage. And the question then, which actually might be interesting for where 7 goes in this box, look, 7's got to be in one of those 2 cells, which maybe it's not useful. But the other thing it means is that there's definitely a 5 and a 4 in the 36 cage. Where does the 5 go? Well, this 5 rules out that T pentomino, so the 5 must be here, which means that square's not a 5. Which might mean something. 7. Here's an interesting point now. Let's use Sudoku again. 7 in box 2 has to be in one of those 6 cells. 7 in box 8 has to be in one of those 2 cells. So what we've not managed to do yet is to place 7 in column 5 of the grid. It's got to be in one of these 3 squares. And we know it's not this one because we can't put 2 in the 36 cage. So 7 is in this domino. Now that makes me wonder about, I was going to say it means you can't put a 1 in the 8 cage, which is lovely actually. That's lovely. That's a great, this is brilliant. This puzzle is brilliant. The other thing you can't do is to put a 2 in the 9 cage. So now the 8 cage is 2, 6. The only place you can put a 2 in this box is in the 8 cage, and you can ask exactly the same question with a 1. Where does the 1 go in box 5? We've worked out it couldn't go in the 8 cage. It can't go in any of those positions, and this one here locks it there. So that's 1, that's 8. 8 can come out of those 2 cells. This can no longer be 7, therefore. So we've affected the degrees of freedom a little bit on this thermometer. We can get rid of the 6 here. And this 2, 6 pair means that's now a 5. So this can't be a 6 and has to be a 4. We've now got a quintuple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in column 7. This 1 is giving us the 1 and the 2 at the bottom of the grid. And what else can we do? We can not sure. Sort of, I presume I can do more. I'm not sure whether I'm meant to look at column 7 or box 8. Maybe this box. 9 is definitely now in one of those 2 cells, I suppose. because it can't be halfway along a thermometer. We know, actually, yeah. Oh no, it could be here. I was thinking if it was here, that would give me a 3-9 pair in row 8. But I don't know that. It could be there, in which case you'd end up with a 9 here, because you couldn't repeat 9 in the cage. And that would have to go 7. So this would be an 8. That all, unfortunately, looks very possible. So this is probably not the way to proceed. Okay, 5. Look, where? Oh no, that's no use either. Bobbins. I'm not saying I'm stuck, but I've certainly reached a little bit of an impasse. There's got to be an 8 in one of those squares. So there's got to be an 8 in one of these squares. If I knew it was this one, it would be incredibly helpful, because then this couldn't be a 9. I suspect there's easier ways of proceeding now. We might be able to do some maths on box 9, actually, because we've got a 21 cage and then we've got 11 more. So that's 32, which means those two squares add up to 13 in order to get to 45. And we can't use 5, 8. So this is either 4, 9. And if it's 4, 9, that can't be a 4, because this square can't be a 2 or a 3. So if it's 4, 9, it would have to be this way round. Or it's 6, 7, and if it's 6, 7, again, this can't be 6, because this can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So it would go like this, which means there is an 8 in my... This is really, it's so intricate. It's incredible to me, to be honest. Now look what we've done. We've placed an 8. We haven't placed it. We know there's an 8 in this 21 cage. We don't know what it goes with yet. But the point is, where does 8 go in box 7? And the answer is I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. I still don't know where it goes, except it's definitely in row 8 or row 9. Exactly the same here. So the 8 in row 7 must be in one of those 3 squares and must therefore be here. And why is this beautiful? Well, it's beautiful because now I can't make this a 9 anymore. Because if I do, where do I put 9 in box 8? The only available square that doesn't immediately break the thermo is here. But if I place a 9 here, my pencil marks tell me this is now a 7. And now that square has to be an 8 in order to make the thermo work. So this is not a 9. And if that's not a 9, this is a 9. And now I've not yet put a 9 in my 36 gauge. So that's become a 3-9 pair, which fixes that square is an 8. That square is a 5 using the power of maths. That's not 8 anymore. Okay. And has that done some work? Now, yes, it has, because now 9 in this box has been forced into the bottom row. I think it's in one of those 2 cells because it can't be in this column, look. So that means 9 has to be there. And these squares are 4, 6 and 7 in some order, and the thermo might help us here. That square can't be 4 because we can't make this lower than 4. This square can't be 7 for the same reason. In fact, that 6 is looking at that square as well, so we can get that. That's a 7. We can't put 7 in the 36 cage, so this is a 7. So this square now is a 3 or a 4 by the power of Sudoku, and it's not 3, there's already a 3 in the cage. So that's 4, that's 3, that's become 2 all of a sudden. That means we get a 2 in the corner of box 1. And we pause for breath. Okay. This 3 is fixing the 3 and the 9. So now look, we're going to use the thermo to, well actually we can do this in a variety of ways. We can get the 4 there, we can get the 6 here. This is now a 6. That doesn't seem to help with that. We must now know what this is though. Because, what have we got there? We've got 29, 30, 38. That's got to be a 7 by the power of 45. This is 3, 4 and 9, which must be resolved. I'm just not spotting how to do it. Oh yeah, okay, this is the 4, because it can't be the 3 or the 9. There's a 3-9 pair there, and that triple that we saw right at the start fixes it. Now, okay, so now we should be able to get this digit. That's a 7. So there's a 7, 8. So this is 7, 8, 6. This is a 4. Let's put that in, 6, 8 here, and I think, actually I'm not saying anything about how well it's going. It's been slow but beautifully intricate progress to this point. 3, 9 into those squares, so that's a 9, that's a 3. This square here is no longer that. This square here is no longer that. In fact, that square is forced to be a 5. So this is 6, 7 and 8 in some order. Is the thermo helping us? No. This 7 is though. That's giving us an 8 there. 6, 7, 7, 9 pair. So we must need, what's that, a 4 at the top of the column. The 4 is in a 12 cage. So these two squares are adding to 8, but they're not 1, 7 or 2, 6. So they are 3 and 5, which we can't fix immediately, but it does give us the 8 here, which removes an 8 from this square. And let's just see if we can spot anything. 3 can come out of that square, so now 3 can only go in one position in the 6 cage. Lovely, that gives us the 3 and the 5 and the 12 cage. It's 15. What do I need in this column? 6, 7s and 8s. So that's a 6 or a 7. This square is a 6, 7 or an 8, so this square is a 7, 8 or a 9. It's not 7, so that's not 8. 6, 7 pair in this column. Lovely, that gets me the 8 at the bottom, the 6 here. Oh, okay, that doesn't maybe go as far as I was hoping it would. And we take a pause for breath. We need, this square is a 6, 7 or a 9 just to complete column 6. So we now know for sure that these are 4, 5 and 8. I'm not sure whether we can do that yet. We might be able to. Let's have a look. 4, 5. Maybe we can't. I'm probably missing some basic Sudoku here. Apologies if you're shouting at your screens. This thermometer, is that done? Ah, this 2's resolved the 2 and the 6. So 6 has to live in one of 2 spaces now in box 6. In fact, if we look along here, that square can't be 2. I don't know why I had 2 penciled in there. But we've got 3, 6 and 7. So this square can only be a 3 because of the 6, 7 pair in the column. It doesn't seem to do anything. These squares have got to be a 5, 8 pair, which again isn't resolved. And these squares have got to be 1, 2 or 9. Well, that is useful actually, because what we can't do is put a low digit into this square. So that's become a 9. Lovely. Okay, that gets me the 8 and the 7. That gets me a 5, 4, 8. This is not 7 anymore. This should be 6 or 9. I've got a 7, 9 pair that's appeared in row 2 of the grid. So I need 1, 6 and what's that? 1, 4 and 6 into those squares. That's a 4 then. That's nice. So this is a 1 or a 6. But now we can do, presumably, yeah, we can do maths. This can't be a 1 because I can't put 10 in there. So that's got to be 6, that's got to be 5. That gives me the 6 and the 1. Why isn't this finished now? I think it probably is. 6, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9. Whoops, 9, 9. Whoops, 9, 7. Sort your fingers out, Simon. 2, 1, 2. 5, 8 is done by this 5 at the top, and that should be a 1. And that is an incredibly clever puzzle. Good Lord. I mean, that how can you make that in an hour? I mean, just there's too much cleverness in it, to be honest. Because the way all of these thermos and killer cages interact is something that, to my simple mind, would need to be thought about deeply for a long time. and to set, it felt very linear as well. I mean, maybe not at the end. I'm sure there was more efficient stuff I could have done at the end, but I did spend quite a bit of time at the beginning trying to spot ways through it. And all I was really able to do was to, this thermometer was a gimme, but then, was it this box? I really needed to work hard on this box to find out anything. And then what you had to do all around this box and the way it backed into this 36 gauge was just gorgeous. It's an incredibly clever Sudoku. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments, and do try Sam and Clover's puzzle, which will be on Patreon now. Thanks so much for watching. Back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.